the Hurricanes. It finished 23-all. Like kissing your sister, I think, is the description of a draw. So not what anybody wanted. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for predictions and opinion. And joining me, you just heard him there talking about his internet, is Matt. How you doing, sir?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Not bad at all. At the beginning of this game, and we can't. We have to acknowledge talk about. We had a minute's silence because of the atrocious actions that happened down in Christchurch. But I think it's right under these terrorist things that we do continue, and then we kicked off. What did you? This was retro weekend for the Chiefs. What did you think of the retro shirt? It's before my time, so it's not one I recognise.
It was, it brought back a few nice memories, to be honest. Reminding me of the days with the likes of Frank Bunce in there, and I know he's linked to the alumni as well. So it was great. Yeah, it was refreshing, and it probably helped them, I suppose, just focus a bit on their tradition as well, and what the jersey means and what it's meant to people from years gone by.
Yeah, and I think they did need a fresh restart to get them going. We should also quick hat tip to Lamapi for his 50th cap for the Hurricanes. I think it's 49 caps for Super Rugby and one against the Lions. So congratulations to him on that one. Beginning of this game, the commentators were talking about how the Chiefs made a good start and got that early try. But to my mind, the Chiefs kicked off pretty much as they've been playing so far this season. Error strewn, turned over the ball, then got lucky with a charge down that Antoinette Brown controlled well and scored. I was worried for the Chiefs early on. Do you think they were early on the Chiefs error strewn, or do you agree with the commentators that they were going well? Okay, looks like
I tend to think they still have that air of panic around them, and you're never quite sure. I felt a little bit more. I felt a bit more comfortable having McKenzie in there Marty McKenzie in there, because I felt they were a little bit less a sense of being panic stricken. But I still felt their set piece and their basic skill sets and decision making around the basics of the game were just still not there to give you that confidence.
Absolutely, and we saw that when the Chiefs tried to play out with their own half from the restart, and DMAC just threw the ball into touch, which started a period of probably about 20 to 30 minutes of basically Chiefs dominance in especially territory-wise. Hurricanes dominance, at least territory-wise. The Chiefs got a bit lucky as Karifi knocked on. Just put his heel in touch. Otherwise, Proctor would have picked up the ball and put it down for a try. Karifi had a very active game, but too often was getting his arms caught in the tackle and knocking the ball on too much. And and interestingly, unlike we see in quite a lot of New Zealand games, we saw that both sides, when they got the opportunity, were kicking for sticks and taking the 3 points. I think the Hurricanes did something like 3 penalties last year or in the regular season, and they kicked at least that many tonight. So it was interesting that they were treating it like a test match in this game. Yep.
I agree, and I'll just go back to your point about the edge as well. Can you hear me, Paul?
Just about. Yep, go on.
Yeah. So just going back to the near try that they scored on, from my sort of recollections, that was probably the only sort of impact that Laumapi had on the game, was his half break and a little offload, which, compared to the sort of the pre-match and the focus on his skill set, he had a quiet game. And I know, Leonard Brown would have had last week sort of been probably outplayed by the midfielders of Crowley and
Goodhue,
and obviously felt he needed to make a point, and I suppose he did to a certain extent in that first half. So that was quite interesting to watch, and I felt Laumapi actually was quite missing in action for a lot of the game.
He did have a very quiet game. You're right, and one of the things I've seen that he's been doing a lot in the season is actually turning up on the wings. And you're kind of like, hang on, you're supposed to be a centre. Why are you out on the wings all the time? So I don't know what's really what the game plan is there with that. But I think the big difference that we saw whilst we were seeing the Chiefs making errors on attack, their defence this week was much more connected. They were definitely much more, much stronger in the tackle and weren't giving line breaks up. They would give up ground, they give up territory, but they weren't actually giving up line breaks, which I think was important tonight. I can think of very few line breaks when they had all that territory. The attack, and the one that did happen when Proctor went over for his try was off the back of the scrum, where the forwards were obviously all tied in. So you've got to take your hat off to the Chiefs' defence tonight. They really did stand up.
Yeah, I agree. I think also that the exit play was really strong tonight. They had a lot of times when they were down to 22. I felt like Marty McKenzie, Damien, both of them kicked low, they kicked flat. They got the ball often bouncing 2 or 3 times. I thought that was a strength of the game. They had to me, what seemed like a very clear exit plan. As did the Hurricanes, and I was very pleased to see Tia's kicking of the left foot kicker. That gives them from an exit point of view. And he did a couple of lovely and I suppose with the likes of Geordie Barrett as well, you've got 3 astute long range punters of the ball, which is it can really help you in those arm wrestles of a match where you need to just dominate the territory. So I thought both teams exited well. But Barrett's kicking out of hand and off the tee was phenomenal tonight, which is comforting from an All Blacks point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Alex asked, is the fact that it's a World Cup year prompting people to kick for goal more often now? I don't think so. I think it's just that the Canes have come into this game without a lot of confidence, even if they have been getting the results, and the Chiefs have had no confidence at all. So I think they're both taking points and trying to build confidence. I thought the Chiefs' exit plays were a bit poor in that first sort of 20 minutes or so, and they were pretty short. Whereas, Beauden Barrett was getting good length on his exits, but the exits improved as the game went on. The Chiefs' line-out woes with Harris throwing again. I think he lost 2 again tonight. That wasn't not straight off the knock on from that from that scrum. We had an offload from Webber, who goes to ground. It goes to ground. Lucky that it gets clean tidied up by. Oh, actually, have I missed a try here? Oh, got my scores wrong around. No, I haven't. No, I haven't. So Webber gets his offload. Tyler Ardron clears things up. It's I think that ball touching the ground made everyone hesitate and breaks up the defence a bit, and then it spun out wide, and it pops up to Damien McKenzie, who goes over just by the posts. All the play up to that point had been by the Hurricanes, but suddenly they found themselves 14-10 down, and you've got to say that was against the run of play, but the Chiefs were taking their opportunities at that point. A good morning to Ronan Rugby from Canada. How are you doing, sir? Good of you to join us. After that, we came back so we were kicking penalties. Geordie took a long one to narrow the gap, and we just basically got into a bit of a kicking, or a couple, or about 3 penalties on the trot then for the Chiefs to lead 20-13 at half time. And considering, I think the Chiefs gave up something like the first 5 penalties in that half, and the Hurricanes didn't give up their first penalty until like the 32nd minute. It did seem like the Hurricanes lost the plot towards the end of that first half, when normally you'd expect them to do pretty well there.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think that came down to the.
Come.
I think part of the reason for that was the fact that I'm thinking to front up in set piece. They got monstered last week by the Highlanders, And again, I felt they were dominated in the scrum, even the collisions. They weren't actually really getting over the gain line. I mean, you've got Adi Savia, but and I felt that gave the likes of Brodie Retallick a completely different role, because last weekend, I saw him as a loose forward trying to wrestle for the breakdown. Tonight, he was back to himself, ranging out in the wider channels, being a threat, being a nuisance, risking the old show and go. Glory ball, and it was great, and I think that stems from the likes of Ardron, who, as a number 8, was dominant over dominant in the breakdowns. He was instrumental in that first try you were just talking about. He got a crucial turnover later on in the game, and I think that gave Brodie the confidence to actually step a few paces outside of the ruck, because he can do what he does best, which gives him that extra threat.
Yeah, and both sides had their problems at ruck time. I mean, the Chiefs 16 turnovers, so the Hurricanes 18 turnovers. That's a pretty chunky number. You want to try and keep your turnovers down to kind of single figures if you can. But we can see the defenses were on top. Say 5 clean breaks by the Chiefs and 6 by the Hurricanes, and we saw that in the second half. Tia. Well, first off, we had TJ Perinara showing his being smart, taking a quick tap and go, knowing that he's going to get tackled before 10 metres, so they can get 10 metres closer for the penalty, which Bowden puts over. But then Tia straight through what looked like from the side on, looked like a solid connected defensive line. He just dances straight through it. Gives the ball to Hooson, and Hooson shows he's a calm cookie, because he gets tapped a fair way short of the line, but smiles as he slides over, whereas you'd see other players trying to scramble and knock on the ball if they were not careful. So good composure showed by those two players this evening as well. And then, and Alex makes a good point about good to see Geordie and Damon McKenzie nailing 50-metre odd kicks. I must admit, I thought Damon McKenzie taking one from inside his own half on the angle, I thought that was going to be a bit too ambitious for him personally. But he did knock it over. That put it up to 23-all after 56 minutes. And neither side at that point really wanted to kind of lose it. We had a bit of a kicking duel and a lot of the play in the middle of the pitch rather than their 22s from then onwards. Damon McKenzie had an opportunity from out wide, but he missed it. Tia had another good break, but knocked it on. It just became the Hurricanes tried to just pin the Hurricanes back, but they couldn't really force enough of an error. And when they did get that Marty McKenzie to miss the ball with a pretty poor pass from Triple T, to be honest, straight over his head, they didn't take advantage of that 5-metre penalty. The Chiefs went down the other end and knocked it on. And I think a draw was probably a fair result at the end of the day.
Mm. Yeah, I think so as well. I think if you were to, I think the Chiefs forwards won the forwards battle. I think you're right. The lineouts wasn't consistent. I felt like they were going long, probably too many times. Whether they were trying to get some clean ball, but that wasn't probably the most consistent play. I felt, I suppose, a little bit concerning given the year that we're coming up to, that McKenzie couldn't quite nail that conversion, that penalty in the last sort of few minutes, because obviously those are the ones that you need to get. And I was just commenting to my my fellow spectators I was with that we hadn't seen any of those speculative McKenzie chip kicks that he did, a handful of them last week. And then in the last minute, extra time, they're building nicely for a penalty or a drop goal, and he goes and does, loses all his composure and does some grubber kick down the short side, which is the last thing you want to do if you're in the red zone trying to close out a match. So I was a bit concerned, from that point of view, and he's got a bit of work to do.
I think we had something similar from Geordie as well. We had he was trying to chip over and find grass a couple of times and put one out in the full late on. Just when you need that composure in the last couple of minutes to make that kind of mistake and give up territory was both of them are showing that they are still relatively young players. Saw a lot of comments on Twitter about people being happy to see Dane McKenzie at 15, and that Marty brought a bit of stability to it. With Debrasini being ill this weekend, he couldn't play. So it was a. I think that Dane McKenzie just runs too sideways at the moment to play 10. He needs to be a bit more direct, whereas he's used to being able to run sideways and get round players at pace from 15. He just doesn't have that space at 10, and I think he just needs to straighten up. But and then he'll be fine. But they've clearly put him. I'm not sure whether Dane McKenzie going to 15 is because Alemano is not available again, and neither is Sean Stevenson, or whether it's actually a tactical thing. I guess we'll find out over the coming weeks. Which players stood out for you this evening?
For me, I would say Adron. He was strong. I thought Leonard Brown had a good first half. Normally, he's a great decision maker. I think he's the highest offloader in the Super Rugby, and he started well. I think tier for me, because it was a lot of 30 bars down, which scores a try, and a lot of players, at that stage early on in their career can sort of take a step back into their shell and go right back to, I'll do the basics, I'll just try and keep a low profile, not do anything else wrong. Whereas I felt he actually had he was instrumental in that try that you talked about before. In the last couple of minutes, he did a lovely left foot kick and then a right foot kick, and was building pressure nicely as you'd want in those sorts of moments. So I think he actually turned around and, I suppose, responded well to that, minute into the game setback. And I think also, to a certain extent, Marty McKenzie.
On tier, it's good to see the variety though. Yeah, not only is he someone who can run back kicks and make breaks, but also he can pick the right option when needed to pin teams back. And one of the good things about having a kicker in that wide in sort of the 13 channel is that once the ball gets out there, the winger has to come up and defend, which opens up extra space. Whereas, so if you've got someone who can step into that role and do those kicks, it really opens up the backfield for you. It was good to see them use that. Something that England do a lot with Henry Slade in that 13 channel. So it was good to see him do that. I mean, defenders beaten 8 tonight, plus 2 clean breaks for 114 metres. Yeah, Tia had a good day. I'm a bit surprised to see that Wes Houston had 141 metres running, which is more than Tia, with 11 defenders beaten. I didn't think Houston had that big a game tonight, but clearly he must have done. On the defensive side of things, big shifts by Blackwell, put in 11 tackles for the Hurricanes. On the Chiefs side, Ross at prop, plus also Brown and Karpik, both the flankers, putting in 12 tackles. So they got through a chunk of work there. I like Alex's one. Said most players to me had moments of brilliance, but then had moments of dumb mistakes tonight. Geordie was the biggest offender of this. Yeah, there was quite a few of them that had those issues. And so Ronnie's got a question for us. You guys reckon the Chiefs have stopped their major arterial leak, or did the Canes just have a shocker tonight? Which way do you think? Are the Chiefs back, or were the Canes poor?
I think. You want to answer that, Paul?
You want me to answer it?
I've got my thoughts.
Right, so my thoughts are that on defence, the Chiefs have stopped leaking points and have definitely shored up the defence. And if they can put that defensive effort up again, then I think they will cause teams a lot of problems purely on just stifling them on that side. On the attack side of things, I think there's still a lot to work on. We had too many balls get thrown that hit grass, and they got lucky bouncers or got thrown out. Both Webber and Triple T were making Marty McKenzie catch balls above his head, which is not clever and really takes the time away from him. So to me, To me, the Chiefs are back on defence, but on attack, they've still got a lot of work to do. For me, as far as Hurricanes, and yeah, do you want to have quick say on the Chiefs before I have a quick talk about the Canes?
Yeah, I suppose to me, I'd want to know if they're playing Damian McKenzie back at if they're playing Damian back at 10, because if they play him back at 10, I'd say they're going to have the same problems that they've had. As much as I think he's a phenomenal player, I feel that the role of a 10 is to make the players around you, good, step up and shine. Whereas I feel no one knows what he's going to do, so they're sort of focusing on reacting to him rather than focusing on how they can make an impact. So, you got the likes of Johnny Sexton. He just plays for the people around him. Whereas I think D-Mac is playing for himself to the point of he's trying to look for opportunities all the time, but actually it's really hard for the likes of Leonard Brown and people to read what he's going to do and actually be ready to focus on their game. So I think if you get Debrasini back and something like that, and D-Mac at the back, and then the players can start to learn their roles off those two players, I'm more confident that they'll be coming back. Whereas if D-Mac stays at 10, I think everyone's going to be just saying, okay, what is this guy going to do next? We've got to be quick to react, and who knows.
Yeah, good point. So it depends on selection going forward. The next game is in South Africa against the Bulls, who have started the season well, and then they go across to Argentina for the Jaguares. So it'll be interesting to see how they go on those two, and whether Debrasini he was sick rather than injured this week. So see whether he's back and playing again. Good point in the chat that Houston ran it up the guts a few times, which would extend his running meters. So yeah, if you're returning catches, that's true. That's where you do rack up those meters that way. From a Hurricanes point of view, they didn't get Laumapi in the game, which you'd expect them to do. On from that, so the Hurricanes definitely didn't get their back line to properly sparkle tonight. So some question marks there. Tia aside, obviously he managed to get some breaks, but there wasn't always support, or there wasn't support on that second one that he needed at least. So again, maybe an element of people not reading what he's doing as he's still new, and their forwards are going to be a struggle all year long, I think. As you say, they got bossed in the scrum, and I think that's going to be a story for the rest of the season for them. And it's a story we've been saying for a couple of years now. So it's a surprise they haven't moved to fix that area. You don't really want Fafita playing in the locks. He is a 6. He's not a 4 or 5. And he doesn't want to play there either, because that's the All Blacks coaches don't want him there. So he doesn't want to play there, and he's not heavy enough for that kind of role. So I think that they really need to sort out a couple of just big boys at lock, personally. Cool. Any final thoughts before we head off and watch the Australian derby?
No, I just think, I think the Hurricanes, I think that's about as good as they're going to get. I think there's more going to get probably dominated a lot of the season. Their backs are what we saw. We know the ability of the players. The Chiefs have got a lot more in them if they can get it right. I suppose answer to your question, the Chiefs have got more to go. The Hurricanes, they're going to struggle on the back of their forward pack. I think Laumapi, he needs to go hunting for the game. If the game's not coming to him, he needs to go hunting. He needs to be taking those runs off first receiver, not being out on the wing like you said, igniting himself in rather than waiting for the ball to come to him, because he's one of their biggest sort of weapons in that back line. And it's not going to probably be the best for the team if he sort of says at the end of the game, I didn't come my way tonight. Sorry, fellas. It's like, well, they expect him to hunt it down. So that'll be a big thing. But I think what we saw tonight is probably about as good as it's going to get, based on on their forward tackle they're going to have.
Yep, no, agreed. So next up we have the Brumbies hosting the Waratahs, so a classic Aussie derby. So get in on that one. Matt, thank you very much for joining me this evening and having a chat about the game.
Pleasure.
Everyone, don't forget to subscribe. Up there is on the recording anyway, will be a link to subscribe. Down there will be a link to my Patreon account where you can help support me to bring all this free content to you and also get access to exclusive membership content. And over on that side are 2 videos that the artificial intelligence here at YouTube says you'll absolutely adore. So go and click on those too.